Hello friends, do you have trouble choosing software? Today on the Genealogy Software Showcase, we're going to crack open 6 of the top tree building software programs and show you what's inside to help you make the best decision about your genealogy software. And hello friends, my name is Ed Thompson and I'm the host of the Genealogy Software Showcase. My goal with this program is to provide you the information you need to make intelligent software choices. Now this is a showcase, so it's much less of a review. I'm not going to make quality assessments about different genealogy programs, because what works for me may not work for you, and what works the way you work may not work the way that I work. So each of us needs to make our own decisions. But to make those decisions intelligently, we need information. And that's the goal of this program, is to get that information out there so that you can make smart decisions. Now, there's different kinds of genealogy software, and today we're going to focus on desktop tree builders. Those are the programs that you have running on your desktop that will help you, give you a place to store your data and display your family tree. Usually has some sort of reports. And the format of today's show, I call it a roundup. And the format of today's show, I have 6 5 to 6 minute video snippets where I show you live streams, where I show you how these programs perform the most basic tasks. And that will allow you to get a feel for what to look for in these various software packages. This will be the beginning of a library of videos that people will be able to look into when they're making decisions about software, when they're comparing software, when they're providing recommendations to their friends about why they chose software A instead of software B. So let's get down to it. And our first up is going to be RootsMagic. Now, the publisher of RootsMagic, it's RootsMagic Incorporated. The designer is Bruce Busby. Bruce is very prominent in a lot of convention settings. He almost always has a booth and is always glad to answer questions. Bruce Busby has had genealogy software in the market since the 90s. RootsMagic itself has been around since 2001, but before that there was a program called Family Origins, and Family Origins is the one that I started with. So I try not to bias anything because I have tried some of the other and I like things about those as well, but full disclosure, it is the one that I currently use. The current release is version 7. And version 7 was actually released in 2014. Now, Bruce has been promising us RootsMagic 8 for, I think, 2 years now. And I do know that it's in advanced beta testing. He wants to make sure he gets it right. And what's new about this particular offering from RootsMagic is that it's going to be native for both the Macs, for the Mac and Windows. Right now it's native for Windows and it can be used on the Mac with a Windows emulator, but that's his goal, is to have something for people who use either platform. So version 8 has been in the works for over a year. It's currently in beta, and the video that I have is about 6 minutes long. We'll show you some of the basics. Now if you have questions as we go along, I will be in the chat answering your questions, either about RootsMagic or as we get further along about some of the other software programs. So if you have any questions as we go along, please feel free to put those questions in the chat. So with no further ado, let's start with a 6-minute look at RootsMagic. We're starting with RootsMagic 7, and it's a piece of software that I'm familiar with, so hopefully we can establish a good baseline to compare the other software to. Now, I am actually running the Windows version, but I'm running it on a Mac using Parallels. And the reason that I'm doing that is that when I tried to record this session on my Windows 10 laptop, the fan noise from the laptop really interfered with the audio quality, and I want to make sure you get the best quality. So on this first screen, I just initiated it. I have not registered this copy, although I do have a license. And it's offering us to start with the full version or the free version. And I'm going to start by evaluating the free version. So click on that. There you go, File, Open Recent, which I haven't opened anything, so let's go New. And I'm going to give my new file a name. We'll just call it Thompson RM7 Test. Now on this screen, I have the option of changing where I want my file to go. I really don't care. My date format, any numbers that I want displayed after the name. If I want to display the surnames in uppercase, if I want LDS support, if I need family search, family tree support, and if I want to enable web hints. Now I don't care about any of this for this particular demonstration, but those are the options involved. What you're presented with here is a pedigree screen, and as you'll see, it's as simple as beginning to enter data. So the challenge is to enter 3 of my generations, and I'm just going to click to add person like it says, and I'm going to add my great-great-grandfather. And surname, of course, is Thompson. Sex is male. No prefix, no suffix, no nickname. He was born 14th of June, 1891. Now I'm going to intentionally enter dates in different formats to see how the program handles it. I'm not going to worry about place. He died 09 October 1967 when I was 7 years old. And burial, I don't know. So this, I hit OK, and should add my first person. There we go. It shows me Frank on a detail screen where I can add facts and events. Let me close that. And you see here in the pedigree chart now, I have my first person. Now I have 2 options here. I can begin entering father and mother from this screen, or I believe I can go to the family screen. Yes, I can. So I'm going to continue entering it from the pedigree screen because it's so simple. But if you wanted to add children to different family relationships, this family screen is where you would want to go. All right, so I'm going to add a new person as Frank's father. And his father was Charles H. Thompson. No prefix. He's not living, of course. His birth was sometime in 1851. We're starting with Roots Magic 7, and it's a piece of software that I'm familiar with, so hopefully we can establish a good baseline to compare the other software to. Now, I am actually running the Windows version, but I'm running it on a Mac using Parallels. And the reason that I'm doing that is that when I tried to record this session on my Windows 10 laptop, the fan noise from the laptop really interfered with the audio quality, and I want to make sure you get the best quality. So on this first screen, I just initiated it. I have not registered this copy, although I do have a license. And it's offering us to start with the full version or the free version. And I'm going to start by evaluating the free version. So click on that. There you go, File, Open Recent, which I haven't opened anything, so let's go New. And I'm going to give my new file a name. We'll just call it Thompson RM7 Test. Now on this screen, I have the option of changing where I want my file to go. I really don't care. My date format, any numbers that I want displayed after the name. If I want to display the surnames in uppercase, if I want LDS support, if I need family search, family tree support, and if I want to enable web hints. Now I don't care about any of this for this particular demonstration, but those are the options involved. What you're presented with here is a pedigree screen, and as you'll see, it's as simple as beginning to enter data. So the challenge, and you see here in the pedigree chart now, I have my first person. Now, I have two options here. I can begin entering father and mother from this screen, or I believe I can go to the family screen. Yes, I can. So I'm going to continue entering it from the pedigree screen because it's so simple. But if you wanted to add children to different family relationships, this family screen is where you would want to go. All right, so I'm going to add a new person as Frank's father. And his father was Charles H. Thompson. No prefix. He's not living, of course. His birth was sometime in 1851. I think it was June. And his death was 10th of April, 1890. Oops. I hit something wrong there. 1898. All right. Again, it presents me with the details here. I'm going to close that, and I have his father. So now I'm going to add his mother. Again, a new person. And his mother was Sarah Jane Raymond. A female. Nothing special. Obviously, she wasn't living. Birth was January 1850. And let me try the death date as 12/10/1912 and see it normalizes the dates, which is what I want it to do. Not going to put in place, hit OK. Now, you see here that it's listed Sarah Jane's spouse as Charles H. Thompson, but there isn't a marriage event yet. So let's go ahead and add a fact. And we're going to go with marriage. And the marriage will be to Charles H. Thompson. And here the date will be 18th September 1889. Okay, that should add the marriage event, see? And if I go to Charles, I should see the same event. And I do. Excellent. All right, so we're going to add one more generation just to flesh this out. Charles H. Thompson, his father was Daniel Hart Thompson. He's not living. And the birth date is 1 of June 1829. I've been capitalizing the month. Let me see what happens if I don't do that. 30th of July. I did it again. Let's see what happens if I just enter July 1893. And oops, can't normalize it if I don't type it in correctly. So, and it capitalized it for me. So great, I don't have to worry about that. Okay, close that. Add the mother. And the mother was Abigail B. And surname was, or given the current surname was Coates. And there's a lot of variations of spelling on that. And she was born in 1829 and died 9th of November 1856. When Charles was only 4 years old. Sad truth. Okay. Tab out of there, normalize date, and see her. Let's add the marriage event again. I'm just going to search here and select marriage event to Daniel Hart Thompson. And the date here is 10th of October, 1846. And now you see I have a pedigree chart that I've built out 3 generations of Thompsons in Roots Magic Essentials. And we're back. Deborah asked how, for the root person, in this case it was Frank Verling, you add children. And I believe there's a drop down from the pedigree screen, but it's probably much easier if you go to the family tab, and you can add children and parents from the family tab. I like using the pedigree entry fields, and I did use that consistently across all the demonstrations, but it is not the only way to enter data, and the family tab certainly is a good option for accomplishing the same tasks. Next up, we have Family Tree Maker, which is a very popular program, and currently it's offered by the Software McAfee company. The original designer was Kenneth Hess, and Family Tree Maker has been around since the 80s. It was first owned by Blue Banner Software, bought out by Broderbund, which later became the Learning Company, which was later bought out by Mattel. Most recently, Ancestry had bought it and had used it for their main desktop program, but they decided they didn't want to be in the desktop software business anymore, and so they discontinued it. And there was a lag between the time that they announced that they were discontinuing it and the time Makiev took control in 2016. But they're back up and running, and it's a very viable software option. The current release is the 2019 version. It was first released in November of 2019, so it's about a year old. The release date for the next version has not yet been announced, but I am assured that they were working on it. So with no further ado, let's take a short look at Family Tree Maker 2019. All right, next we're going to evaluate Family Tree Maker, the 2019 version. Now, once again, I'm running this in parallels on a Mac, but I am running the Windows PC version. So what we're evaluating is the Windows version. And the reason I'm running it on my Mac is that the fan on my Windows laptop was just a little bit too loud for the audio. So, but this should be exactly how it looks running on a Windows machine. Actually, it may even look a little bit better running on a Windows machine. One of the things that Family Tree Maker did that the other programs haven't done that I've looked at so far is Family Tree Maker, as part of the install, had me create a default database. And once I did that, this is the screen it brought me to. So I'm going to click here, and it wants a name. I'm going to expand that so I can see these name parts. And as always, my great-grandfather is Frank Verling Thompson, and no suffix. Okay. On this screen, I can indicate that he was a male. I can offer his birth date, 14th of June, 1891. I'm not going to worry about place. Hit continue. But it is taking its time. So it's offering me to search Ancestry automatically. It also has an interface with Family Search. I don't care about that right now. There we go. And now that I've added my first person, I see a nice pedigree chart. So I want to add the death date of Frank Verling, and it looks like I can do that over here on the side. So he died the 9th of October, 1967. All right, and I've entered my first person. See here that it has normalized the dates like the other programs did. And let's move on to his father. So his father was, it says add the name of the person as if you were reading. Okay, so I'm going to do Charles H. Thompson. Let's see what it does since I didn't pull up the little pencil. And see over here on the right hand side of the screen, it's added Charles. And if I add his birthday here, let's do it differently. Let's use the American format and see how it handles the normalization of dates. And you see here it converted the date to a normalized value. Normalized, by the way, just means that it's going to always display the dates consistently no matter how I input them. Charles died, oh, I did this again. He died 10th of April, 1898. He was born in 1851. And let me add Frank's mother. And she was Sarah Jane Raymond. See down here, I've got Charles H. Thompson and Sarah Jane Raymond with the child of Frank being Frank Fairling. It looks like what Family Tree Maker is doing here is it's displaying the pedigree at the chart and a simplified family group page at the bottom with the editing field on the right hand side. I think if I click this, nope, that's for media. Let me stick to my original task here. So Sarah Jane was born in January of 1850. Tab, tab, tab. Oops, tab too far. And she died 10th of December, 1912. Now, what about their marriage? Okay, so marriage to Charles H. Thompson, right here at the bottom. So I'm going to enter in date from there, 18 September, 1889. And we have 2 generations. So on we go. Charles H. Thompson's father was Daniel Hart Thompson. I'm actually really pleased with the performance of these applications running within Parallels on a Mac, because sometimes my Windows running it on the Mac just doesn't work real well, but this is working well. His spouse was Abigail B. Coates, and she was born in 1829, and she died 9th of November 1856. I wonder how much losing his mother when he was only 4 years old impacted Charles H. Thompson. Sigh. Okay, I can add the marriage date right here, 10th of October, 1846. There we have it. I've got a pedigree chart of 3 generations of Thompsons in Family Tree Maker 2019, the Windows version, and I have a nice family group sheet at the bottom and my edit screen on the right. So that was a short look at Family Tree Maker, a very viable option in the tree builder category. Next, we're going to be taking a look at another very popular program, Legacy Family Tree. And we are going to be looking at version 9. Now, Legacy Family Tree is a PC-only program, but you are going to see me demonstrate it in Parallels on a Mac. At the time, the Mac was the best computer I had in the house for doing these kinds of recordings, and so most of my demonstrations have been recorded on that. I've since swapped out my iMac for a PC, a conversation for another day, but you're going to see that Legacy Family Tree 9 performs very well on the Mac using a program like Parallels. So the publisher of Legacy Family Tree is Millennial Software Incorporated. However, recently, this year or late last year, they were bought out by MyHeritage. Now, my understanding was that MyHeritage was very interested in the Legacy Family Tree webinars, which is an excellent library of teaching tools provided by Legacy Family Tree, and I highly recommend a subscription if you have a chance. I'm not getting any compensation for that. But Legacy Family Tree, very good program. The designers were Ken McGinnis and Dave Bearden, and I believe they are still the developers of Legacy Family Tree. It's been around since 1997 and was bought by MyHeritage in 2018, so I was off by 2 years. The current version is version 9, and I wasn't able to pin down exactly when version 9 was released. And the release date for the next version has not been announced. However, looking back historically at when different versions have been released, it looks like it's about every 3 to 5 years. So we should be due for something new very soon. That said, there are constant updates to the program as needed. So with no further ado, let's take a 6-minute look at Legacy Family Tree 9. Welcome back. So next I'm going to evaluate Legacy 9, doing the same basic tasks. You see here that Legacy 9 is a family. Legacy 9 Family Tree is the full name. So I'm opening up Legacy 9. And it's asking me right away to create a new file or open an existing file. So I'm going to do Thompson L9 test. Let's open that file. It has started me on the family sheet page, and I'm more comfortable working with pedigree than I am with family sheets. So I'm going to do it from the pedigree page, but for those of you who prefer work with family sheets, you see that this is an option similar to our last program. And again, I'm going to add Frank Verling, surname Thompson, and no titles, no suffixes. He is a male. He was born 14th of June 1891. Not going to worry about the place. Different date format here, but I'm sure that there's an option to define how I want the date displayed. I actually like this format better. When was he christened? Not going to do that. When did he die? 9th of October 1967. Okay, so that should be all I want to do. I'm going to hit save up here in this corner. I think that's probably and I have Frank Verling Thompson. So similar to what I've done before, and now we'll move on to click to add father. New person. Given name Charles H. He is not living. I keep forgetting to click that on Frank. I'm going to go down here to when he was born, 10th of April, I tabbed out. 1898. Please do not hold my typing skills against these programs. And died 10th of, let's see. Oh no, he died 10th of April 1898. He was born in 1851. So I'm going to save him. And I am going to click to add mother, add an individual, add a new person. And the mother was Sarah Jane Raymond. Obviously, she is not living. And she was born in January of 1850. And died in December of 1912. I'm going to see what happens. I put the data in a different format. And it normalizes it for me. Excellent. Let me save that. Okay, so it automatically brought up marriage between Charles H. Thompson and Sarah Jane Raymond. So that may be a convenience to you or maybe inconvenient. I think in this particular case, it is convenient. It did give me the option here, up here in this corner, to indicate that the couple did not marry. So that's good. but the marriage date for them was the 18th of September, 1889. Okay, and I'm not doing places just for the sake of time. All right, and one more generation of Thompsons to go. I'm going to add a new person as Charles H. Thompson's father, and his name was Daniel Hart. I'm gonna leave the living on yes right now and see what happens when I enter the death date. 1st of June 1829, and he died 30th of July 1893, and you'll see here that the living switched to no, so that's convenient. I didn't check if Roots Magic did the same thing, but I suspect it does. So let me save that, and let me add the mother, and add it as a new person, and her name was Abigail B. Coates, and I've seen it as Coates or Choates or my snafu, not the programs. And Abigail was born in 1829, and she died in 9th of November 1856, when poor Charles was only 4 years old. 10th of October 1846 is when they were married. And there we have it. 3 generations of Thompson in a pedigree chart. Let me take a look at Abigail. And if I edit Abigail, died 1856. Where's the marriage event? Did the marriage event not get added because I did something? Oh, it's complaining because I didn't put an initial on there. And it is not showing the marriage event here. So that is just my lack of experience with this particular program. See, if I say edit marriage, it does pull it up. So yay, they're married. Okay, so that's it for Legacy 9. See how easy it is to perform these basic tasks of adding 3 generations of Thompsons and seeing them in a pedigree chart. So that was Legacy 9, and all right, we're about to move on to Heredis. So at the time that I did this recording, Heredis 2021 had not come out, and it came out like a week later, and I didn't want to redo this. What you're seeing here is a live feed of their website, and when I pulled up in the browser translated it automatically into English. So a couple caveats here about Heredis. Number one, I wasn't really familiar with the program, and that's going to be obvious in the video. Do not take my clumsiness with the program to be a indication of the quality of the software. There were some things that I discovered towards the end of the video that made the whole process a lot smoother for me personally, so keep that in mind. And I also didn't want you to feel that because this is in French that everything's in French. The U.S. versions are in English. It is owned by a French company, BSD Concept, which is an employee-owned company. The original designer was Bernard David, and Heredis has been around since 1994. The current release, 2021, was released in October of 2020. Fortunately, I recorded this at the end of September in 2020, but 2021 is out. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, and in the future we'll be looking more information at Heredis. So when you had time, this one's a little bit clumsy, but here we go. Next on our list is a 2020 version of a program from Europe called Heredis, or Heredis? Heredis. I call it Heredis. If I'm wrong, somebody out there will correct me. This is the 2020 version. I am using the free version of Heredis, and let's just go on and see what happens. So I don't have a license to activate, don't want to buy. I guess I'm in try mode. And for clarification, I'm running the PC version, Windows version, but I'm running it on a Mac through a program called Parallels. So this is not, it is the native Windows version. It is not the Mac version. Let's see, File, New. Yes, okay. So let's go with Heredis 2020 PC Thompson test. Okay, so this is the screen I'm presented with. According to the tab, this is the family tab, and it looks like to add a person, I just need to click on this bottom. So click first person and surname. Well, we know this by now. And Frank Vierling. Now, it did capitalize the surname. That may be an option that I can set. I suspect it is. It is not uncommon for genealogy programs to do that. I prefer not to do that, but that's just a personal preference, and you may be fine with that. Occupation, interesting thing to put here. Let's see, birth event down here, and we know by now that it was 14th of June, 1891. Oh, so this is interesting. 14th of June, 1891 is not a valid date. So what date formats? It has a calendar tool as well. So it's expanding the date into the, I don't know what format this is called, but month, day, year with the comma. It'd be interesting to see if there's other defaults that can be set there. Again, the date converter is not the same as a date entry tool. And again, we'll see how that works with partial dates. And you see a nice little box here with Frank. It indicates he's unmarried, which I guess is an invitation to marry him off, and that he has no children. Let's move on to his father, who we know now is Charles H. Male, they got it. Birth was 1851. Okay, is it gonna? Yep, it accepted it. And death was April 10, 1898. And it accepted that. So let me add Charles. We'll add the mother, who is a Raymond. Long line of Raymonds in New England. And her surname is Sarah Jane. Date. Now this will be interesting. January 1850. Oh, it accepted it. I wonder why it didn't accept the other one. Let me try that other format again. So 10th of December 1912. It accepted that fine. I wonder what I did wrong the first time. All right, we will add Sarah Jane. Let's open up Charles here. Can I add a marriage? Oh, no, it accepted it. Okay, so that was harder than it needed to be, but I think that in Europe and in the US, we kind of handle dates differently. So I don't know if it's more intuitive in Europe how we're doing the dates here, or if this is just an opportunity for improvement to support different date formats for entry. But we'll get the hang of it here. I've got them married. Doesn't look like there's any indication of marriage date. Let me check Sarah here and make sure. Yep, marriage event is there. I'm having a little trouble navigating to keep the pedigree chart the way I want to view it because it keeps zeroing in on the person I'm editing. That's not necessarily inappropriate. If I do descendants, no, that's just descendant chart, ancestors. Let's see if I can add the mother from this screen and what that does. That may be more in line with my own personal way of approaching this. Yeah, so it's not having any trouble accepting dates in the format I'm comfortable typing them in. And it's even accepting partial dates. So that's a yay, a win. So there you have it. The way to enter basic data into Heredis 2020. Hey, I can use a European program. Sorry for that delay. I got caught off guard. My cat wants to be all over the desk, so apologies for that. So you can see there towards the end that I actually found... Oh, hold on. I've got to mute myself. You see towards the end of that video that I actually found what they call the Ancestors tab is equivalent to what I think of as a pedigree chart. And I was able to enter data from there as well as from the screens that you saw me do it from. Next up is a Mac-only program, Reunion, and Reunion is another one that changed while I did this. The publisher is Leister Productions out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. The designer is Frank, I assume that's Leister or Lester. The current version came out last month, again in October, version 13. However, at the time I did this video in late September, version 12 was still the current version. So again, I will do a catch-up video at some point in the future when I go into more detail about Reunion in general. But I suspect a lot of what we're showing today hasn't changed. So here we go with Reunion. One of the first programs for the Mac that we're going to look at is Reunion, and we're looking at Reunion version 12. Reunion's been around for quite a long time. For the longest time, it was the only Mac tool that I'd heard of for genealogists. That's certainly not true now. We are looking at a native running genealogy program, so there's no emulator working in the background. This is just exactly how you would see it. So this screen looks like it wants me to sign up, but I just want to do demo mode, so I'm going to continue in demo mode. And it's asking me about a word processor and my preferred web browser. Interesting. I'll just leave it at defaults. And now it wants me to choose a file, and since we haven't done this before, we'll create a new file. So interesting, family file 12. Interesting suffix there. I'm going to put in Thompson Reunion 12 test. Create the file. Okay, and this is the screen that it's showing. Let me enlarge it, if it'll let me. It won't let me yet. I have to take care of this pop-up. So I'm going to add, I assume, the first person before it'll let me go any further. And we will add Frank Verling Thompson. Frank was my great-grandfather, who I did get to meet at some point, although I was very young. Let's see, user ID we don't care about, prefix title don't care about, last name in uppercase, no, not particularly. And let's see, not adding any sources for the name, so let me just say done and see. Well, no, here, let's click on events. Actually, no, let's click on done and see if I can enlarge the program first to give you a good view of the screen. All right, so this looks like a typical family sheet with a people list on the right-hand side and a menu on the left-hand side. Let me see if I can find a lineage chart, because that works best for me when I'm entering it in. All right, so I played around a little bit with the configuration. I could not find a way to use a lineage chart as a editing screen. So we'll stick with the family view, which is the default editing screen on Reunion. I also found I was able to configure the dates the way I like them, and you have the choice of configuring the surname in all uppercase like many of the programs do offer. I'm back on the family view, and now I'm going to start entering some facts for Frank. So he was born on the 14th of June 1891, and it did capitalize the month. Excellent. I'm going to try entering the death date differently as 9/10/1967. I was 7 years old when he passed away. And yes, it reformatted the date the way that I like it. So next we are going to add his father. And his father was Charles H. Thompson, male of course. And interesting that it has source citations for the name right up front there. Now we're not going to talk about citations during the basic tasks exercise, but we will come back to this later and when we review all of the top programs and how they handle source citations. So I am going to move to their events screen, and Charles was born in 1851, and he died on the 10th of April 1898. All right, so now we have Charles. The next thing I'm going to do, I want to go back to Frank and enter Frank's mother. Frank's mother was Sarah Jane Raymond. And actually, I don't want to enter the surname on the same line as the rest of the name. Did I get it right? I'm still typing it wrong. Okay, got it now. And Sarah was born in January of 1850, and she died in December of 1912. So she outlived her husband by about 14 years. Now, so I've got Charles H. and I've got Sarah Jane Raymond. What I don't have is a linkage to them. They are obviously the parents of Frank Verling, but I do want to add a marriage event to one or the other and make sure that it propagates over to the other one. So I'm going to go back over to the events. I'm going to add an event. I'm going to choose marriage, which is not on this, but I'm not surprised by that because many programs consider the marriage event, a little bit differently than other events. So let me check under facts, and I want to add a fact. Married name, no, that's not where it is. Still not seeing how to add the marriage event, a marriage date. Okay, I think I found it. There's a white box above the two spouses, and if I click on that white box, this is where it allows me to do a marriage event. So the date of their marriage was 18th of September 1889. Now we have the first couple and married. So next I want to add a father for Charles. And his father was Daniel Hart Thompson. And if I add a birth event for him, he was born 1st of June 1829. And he died. I'm going to try a different date format and see if it converts at 1893. Okay, so here you see that it couldn't understand the date the way I did it. I did it backwards from I should have done typical month first, then day. Okay, So now I've got the birth and death for Daniel Hart Thompson. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to add another person, and it's a spouse of Daniel Hart Thompson, and her name was Abigail B. Coates. And there's a lot of spelling I've seen: Coates, Cots, Choates. I'm not quite sure what the real name is, still doing some research on that, but this is the one I found more often for this particular generation. All right, and we're going to add events for her. So she was born 1829, and she died 11/9/1856. So she died when Charles was only 4 years old, 5 years old. Yeah, wonder what impact that had on Charles. And we're going to add a marriage event for them, and they were married on 10/10/1846. Okay, let me go back down now to the root person. All right, so here at the bottom, how's it? Okay, so it looks like it's only displaying 2 generations, or actually 1 generation, 2 generations at a time. If I go down and reveal Charles H. Thompson and Sarah Jane Raymond as the people of interest, you'll see they had the one child, Frank Verling. They had, and then his father was Daniel Hart Thompson, and Abigail Coates was his mother. So there you have it. There's the basic tasks in Reunion 12 for the Mac. The last contender for today's demonstration is Family Historian 6, and I did a roundup of some sort a few years back about software that I thought was really good, and I left off Family Historian and got my hand slapped, so I wanted to be sure to include it in this. Family Historian's a PC-only program, although you'll see here that it runs just fine in a Windows emulator, again, parallels. And Jan Murphy has promised not to heckle me as I do this, but if you have any questions, or Jan, if you have any corrections, feel free to put them in the chat. So, publisher of Family Historian 6 is a program out of the UK, Calico Pi Limited. Designer Simon Ord. It's been around since 2002. The current release is 6.2.7, which was released in May of 2018, and I could not find any information about any future releases. So without further ado, Family Historian 6. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at another native Windows program called Family Historian, and we're looking at version 6. Now, normally I would complete the install process first and then open up the program, but they actually have a very detailed onboarding process that I can't move past. So it's actually a little intrusive if you ask me, but hey, so it is. What you should be seeing on the screen right now is what I was presented with because I asked to start a new project in Family Historian, and it wants to give me a starting person and potentially his parents. Now I'm just going to do the starting person, but as we know by now, it's Frank Verling Thompson, and we'll see how it handles the parsing out the name into given and surname. And we know that he's a male, and I'm going to just input that for now. And the new project name is Thompson FH6 test. And as you can see, I'm still typing challenged, and this will be my default project. Alright, let me adjust the screen because it also started up in full screen mode, which again I also thought was a little intrusive, but so be it. There's certain things you get used to in programs and certain things that annoy you in programs, and that doesn't mean the program's not good. So here we see Frank Verling, as the quote root person. We're on a spouses and children screen, and we can see that there's a parents and siblings, and an ancestor screen, and a descendants screen. On the right hand side, there is a main screen that will allow us to input data, and I don't see a way to do this as a pedigree chart, which as you know by now is my preference, but let's see if I click on descendants, ancestors. Let's see if we can do it from this screen, just because it's what I'm used to. You see here that it capitalized the surname Thompson. I imagine that that's probably configurable. Most of these programs it is. So I'm going to go up here onto the right hand side of the screen, and I'm going to enter his birth date as we have so many times before, and I'm going to enter it in as 14 June 1891, and as we see here, it has normalized the date as we know to look for now. He died the 9th of October 1967, and again, invalidate, doesn't like that format. A little bit similar to, what was it, Heredis, that had the same sort of interface. October 9th 1967. And now we have Frank Verling Thompson, 1891 to 1976. So next I'm going to add his father, and I'm going to create a new record. And his father, as we know, was Charles H. Thompson. Male, yes, of course. And he was born in 1851. And he died 10th of April 1898. Yes, it accepted that format. And now we will enter in his spouse. So again, I'm going to create a new record. And his spouse was Sarah Jane Raymond. I don't know if I mentioned this, but this is where my grandfather gets his first name, was Raymond. Sarah Jane was born in January of 1850 and died on the 10th of December 1912. Okay, so now we have Frank's mother entered into the program. Next, we want to link Sarah and Charles in a marriage event. So let's see how we do that in Family Historian. I'm going to try facts, and I'm going to try adding a fact, add a marriage with Charles H. Thompson. And we know that that occurred on 18th of September 1889. I do know the place, but we're not going to bother to enter it in here. Okay, so let me go back over to Charles and see if he has the marriage event. And indeed he does. We would expect that. And if I look at descendants, he's my root person. Parents and siblings. Here you can see Frank as the child, and you can see Charles H. and Sarah Jane as the parents. So that was pretty easy. And we'll add Charles H. Thompson's father. Again, we'll create a new record. And we know it was Daniel Hart Thompson. And that Daniel was born 1st of June 1829. And he died on the 30th of July 1893. Again, we see the normalized dates. I love when that happens. All right, and then we will add his wife, Abigail B. Coates. Yep. And she was born in 1829. And she died 9th of November 1856. All right, and let's go in and create the marriage fact to join these two together. This was a little bit harder in some of the programs that we looked at. It's relatively easy here. I just need to pick the spouse and add the date. And it was 10th of October, 1846. So she died 10 years and 1 month later. Tab out of that. And there we have it. A descendant, is it a descendant? No, a lineage chart for Frank, Charles, and Daniel with their according spouses. It's relatively easy in Family Historian. Hey, so we're still in Family Historian 6 here, and after the demo I was curious and wanted to go in and see, number one, could I configure the surnames to not appear in uppercase, and number two, do I have control over the date format? And the answer to both is yes. You see here now the dates are displayed in camel case or sentence case, and if we look over here at the dates, one of my preferred formats is day, 3-character month name, and then obviously the 4-digit year. So like many of the programs, it's customizable to your tastes. So those are 6 of the top desktop genealogy tree building programs. There is an extensive list of other programs out there available, and I will be mentioning several on my website. Genealogy software, genealogyshowcase.tech. And I point that out to you. It's a .tech, T-E-C-H, because I have not been able to get the .com URL yet, domain name yet, but I do hope to. The person who owns that right now has offered to work with me on that. I'm not making value judgments about software that I did not include. I refer to these as 6 of the best, not the 6 best. Again, I'm not trying to make value judgments about what the best software is, although, like everyone else, I have opinions. I just want to showcase the software so that you can make your own choices. Next week, I am planning on going through the same 6 programs and showing how to import a GEDCOM and how to generate reports out of those programs. You've got your data entered now. Now how do I present that data? Now, I do reserve the right to change what I do next week based on the feedback that I receive on this, our first broadcast, because I want to do things to answer the questions that you have and not that I think is best for you. I want to be relevant to the choices that you are making. I really had a good time in the chat with all of you who were able to join us live. I'm sorry that those of you who are watching the recorded version weren't able to participate in that, because we did have a lot of fun chatting about the history of some of this software and some of our biases about the software that we like best. So if you liked this, please like the video when it shows up on YouTube. You're also welcome to, we have a Facebook group, we have a YouTube channel, and we have a website. And speaking of which, each of the videos that I showed today are edited a little bit cleaner and should be posting on YouTube, going public on YouTube separately from this video by 5:30, in about half an hour. So if people want to watch just a particular episode or a particular software, or if you want to refer people to a particular video because you want them to know something about a particular software, you'll be able to do that without having to go through this entire 1-hour presentation. And what I hope will happen is over time, as I do a little bit of a program here and a little bit of that same program there, is to build up a library of videos for program sets. So have 3 or 4 videos on Roots Magic, 3 or 4 videos on Family Historian, give people a better feel for the software's use end to end. So those are some of the ideas I have. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed this, please like the video, subscribe to our Facebook group, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can keep up to date on future events. And on the website, you can also sign up for our newsletter. My plan for newsletters is to do weekly announcements about what the next episode is going to be like. So Deborah, yes, that is my plan once I knock out my production schedule. And I have a monthly newsletter called the Genealogy Software News that will hopefully help us keep up to date on new software and new releases of existing software, so that if you're following certain software, I know sometimes I go and I'll be 2 months behind on something because I didn't know they came out with something new. And my hope is that the Genealogy Software News will help in that regard. So thank you for being part of the premiere episode of the Genealogy Software Showcase, and I hope to see you next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. And in the meantime, I invite you to go and have some fun.